Hello everybody, welcome back to the Brotherhood Gaming Video Game Show. Guess what time it is? It's the end of the year. Yeah, I know, it felt like it came by and went so fast, right? Now before we head on into the year of 2016, let's take a moment to reflect back on all of the wonderful games of this past year.
Now we do have a couple of notes before we begin. One, every single game on this list did receive a release in North America in 2015. Also, we're not including any HD remasters or collections because honestly, if we did, well, half this list would be composed of them. I guess it kind of tells you where we are in the video game world when half the good games are old ones.
Now, let's take a moment and look at all of the wonderful games that 2015 brought us. Take it away, Rob.
Damn, I just wanted to sit around and get drunk, like I do every year. Fine. This is the Brotherhood of Gaming.com's top 20 games of 2015. Number 20, Fallout 4.
Was there any game more hyped up this year than this one? Fallout 4. So, did it live up to the hype? Well, not completely, but that doesn't mean it was not a good game. Returning to the apocalyptic world ravaged by the Great War, we once again take control of a nameless underground wanderer, leaving the safety of the vault to venture into the unknown. All the standards from the series here have returned, such as completing quests in a huge world that can eat up many hours of your life, a well-written story, solid combat, and a beautiful score. Those things this game did well, but it was mixed in some of the technical issues, such as graphics for example. Also, the choices made here are not as impactful on the story as they were in previous editions. While Fallout 4 may not have been as good as the masterpiece that was Fallout 3, it is still a very well-made game and did a good job keeping us from having any social life.
Number 19, Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Assassin's Creed became one of our personal favorite series of all time. But then Ubisoft had to oversaturate it. Now, we stuck it through Black Flag, which was at the very least a fun boat simulator. But last year, we finally fell off the bandwagon with the disastrous Unity. We felt that Assassin's Creed had pretty much reached its full potential and had nothing left to offer. This year, Assassin's Creed Syndicate may not be a full return to glory, but it does definitely show that the series still may have some mileage left in it. Now, it still contains its fair share of bugs and glitches, but for the most part plays out like Unity, if it was made competently. With a cast of likable characters, we explored the open world of London. The gameplay is repetitive like previous titles, but when done right, Assassin's Creed can still be very fun to sit through. Also, Syndicate does manage to feature some new elements to spice things up a bit. Assassin's Creed really doesn't need to be one of those yearly titles. If Ubisoft slows down a bit, Assassin's Creed can still provide lots more enjoyable hours. And Syndicate is proof of that.
Number 18, Call of Duty what?
I know, we're just as surprised as you are. Call of Duty is one of those titles, like Madden. An over-released annual game series that is basically the same thing over and over again. We admit we are pretty snobbish when it comes to this series. But based on a suggestion, we decided to try out the latest installment, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And to our surprise, it was pretty fun. This is a military first-person shooter, just ask anyone, but it also has science fiction elements that make it pretty unique and cool. And by taking place 40 years in the future, the game features some pretty neat weaponry that we can use in campaign modes. The additional game modes are pretty fun as well, especially the zombie modes. This game may not be revolutionary or expand the series more than what it is, but for what it is, it's pretty good. It's not a series that we are overly excited to revisit year after year, but it is something that we're not adverse to coming back to every once in a while.
Number 17, Splatoon.
Nintendo created a new IP? Rivers and seas boiling, earthquakes, volcanoes, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. But that is what they did with Splatoon. This team-based third-person multiplayer shooter allowed for up to 8 friends to blast away. They also introduced the Inklings, who possess the ability to change between human form, which you can fire away at enemies with your ink guns, and squid form, where you can travel through the ink to hide from them. The game is like a laser tag simulator with ink blots. Splatoon is really a more family-friendly version of open warfare, which of course is right down Nintendo's alley. The game also had influences from previous eras like the Super Mario, Sunshine, and Jet Set Radio games. The game may be lacking a bit with some of the features, but for those who are tired with the grim and gritty games of the shooter genre, this is actually pretty fun to play, and it allows you to be a kid or a squid, and shows that Nintendo still has plenty of ideas deep in its well, not named Mario or Link.
Number 16, J-Stars Victory vs. Plus. What kind of name is that?
An anime fan's fever dream, J-Star's Victory vs. Plus features a truly all-star cast from the legendary Shonen Jump. This fun arena-style fighter allowed us to take control of some of the great heavy hitters, from Goku to Naruto to Ichigo to Luffy and many in between. This game gave us the option to mix and match these warriors in outrageous tag team bouts, which explode into wild free-for-alls. The characters do control the same, but their attack styles are so different, which adds to the fun. It's like taking the city of Final Fantasy, throwing in some Smash Brothers, and inviting tons of our favorite anime characters to duke it out for superiority. Some characters are noticeably nerfed in order to compete fairly with the others. But hey, that is not important. What is important in these cameo-filled games is having fun while executing flashy attacks, destroying buildings, and going into massive overload of awesomeness. It is so addicting. Games like this are not meant to be taken seriously. They're meant to celebrate. Shonen Jump has given us some of the best characters that anime has to offer, and this game is pure fan service galore.
Number 15, Batman Arkham Knight.
The console version. The console version. Of all the games that came out this year, none had more baggage than Batman Arkham Knight. Let's see. There was Warner Brothers allowing a botched PC version to ship, which is still jacked up by the way. More marketing focus on DLC, treating the game as a side thing that went with them. Insultingly short Harley Quinn and Red Hood story packs. A plot twist everyone could see coming, and forcing us into the Batmobile. Batmobile levels suck. They always suck, and they always will suck. Yet despite all of that, the console versions of this game was still pretty fun. Rocksteady Studios still delivered on the great hand-to-hand combat, beautiful open world, fun story, and brilliant voice performances. It may have been weaker than the first two titles of the series, but that is what usually happens with trilogies. The third one is usually the lesser one of the three. Now, we said 3 by the way. Arkham Origins does not count. It may have been a little formulaic, and there really is no need to visit the series anymore. But Arkham Knight still brings a lot of enjoyment for us Batman fans. Now please turn some of this attention to Superman. Please?
Number 14, Halo 5 Guardians.
We are not the most devout followers of the Halo series. In fact, the last one we really played was Halo 2 on the Xbox. But we went ahead and jumped right into the latest escapade featuring Master Chief. And we were not disappointed. Many core elements from previous Halo games return, but there are also some new twists as well. Halo is considered one of the grand masters of first-person shooters, and it's easy to see why. With top-notch graphics, gameplay, sound, and of course its bread and butter, online multiplayer, this game did hit what it was aiming for. Well, mostly. The story is pretty average in our views, but like we said before, the main strength of the Halo series is not the grand, epic storytelling, but the strong online shoot-'em-up gameplay. That is what we're looking for when it comes to these games, and that is what Halo 5 Guardians delivers.
Number 13, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Or is it Cross?
The Nintendo Wii U may not be doing as well in sales as the other consoles, but it does have some gems as you can see. And here is a beautiful one. Xenoblade Chronicles X. This is a massive, and we do mean massive, open-world action RPG. Like in most games in the genre, traveling is key, whether on foot or in giant robots that can fly and transform into vehicles. The focus is to find the stasis pods that landed in various places throughout the land of Mira. And the only way to get to these places is to expand the Frontier Net information system by installing data probes. If that sounds complicated, well, that's only because it is. This is a really huge game with a deep, complex gameplay mechanic. There is plenty of customization, combats, fetch quests, landscapes, just to name a few. The sheer complexity of this title may scare off quite a lot of potential players, but if you have the time, the patience, and the fortitude, what you will find here is a truly wonderfully made open-world experience that is worth the time of any JRPG fan.
Number 12. Transformers Devastation.
If you can say anything about Platinum Games, they know what the hell they're doing. From hack and slash bonanzas like Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising, to beat-em-ups like Mad World, and third-person shooters like Vanquish. So much so that they have become pretty much in demand. And when they were approached to make a hack and slash title featuring the first generation of Transformers, they were like, oh yeah, we got this. Transformers Devastation is like a time machine, taking us back to the 80s where robots beating the crap out of each other was all the rage. Bringing back the original cast of the first incarnation of the franchise, this game feels like playing through an episode, with the choice to play as characters like Bumblebee, Grimlock, and of course, Optimus Prime. Platinum Games allows us to tear through the hordes of Decepticons and face off against classic enemies like Starscream, Megatron, and Devastator. The game may be pretty short and doesn't have as much depth in its combat, but it is still a rip-roaring good time, with beautiful cell animation, fun attacks, great cast, and awesome music. It actually recaptures what made us old schoolers love the original Transformers, which is really refreshing, especially after all those Michael Bay movies.
Number 11. Mad Max.
Licensed games are always a tricky thing to pull off, but it was done surprisingly well here with Mad Max. Just like the movie Mad Max Fury Road turned into one of the surprises of the year, this game turned out to be surprisingly good as well. In Control of Max, we travel through a post-apocalyptic wasteland on a quest for revenge, of course. This game features a high focus on vehicular action. To get through this adventure, we would build the ultimate war car, the Magnum Opus, allowing a great deal of customization. There was also a lot of time spent on exploring for materials to be used for your vehicular upgrades. The hand-to-hand combat is also very similar to the Batman Arkham series with a mixture of pro wrestling and boxing, allowing us to lay the smackdown on the hapless raiders we run into. The story may be pretty thin, but the exploration and vehicle combat is enough to keep us enthralled as we take on the savage wasteland.